Okay, so in this video, we're just going to talk about operations with numbers and scientific notation. And if you understand how scientific notation works, this really won't feel too bad. If you don't understand how numbers and scientific notation work, I would highly suggest rewatching or going and watching my scientific notation part 1 video. Okay, so when we want to multiply numbers in scientific notation, notice we have 2.3 times 10.8 times 4.2 times 10.2 is essentially what we're looking at. And so we're going to multiply these first pieces together. So we're going to group those together. And then we'll multiply our 10 to the 8 and 10 squared. So we've got this is equal to, we'll take 2.3 times 4.2, and then we'll multiply by 10 to the 8 times 10 squared. And so the first part you'll just type into your calculator. And so we have 2.3 times 4.2 is equal to 9.66. And then we know when we multiply exponents with the same base, we're just going to add the exponent. So I get 10 to the 10. And I would look at this and double check, am I still in scientific notation? So I only have one digit before the decimal point times 10 to some integer, and it is. So then this would be my answer and we're good to go. All right, so for the second one, we're gonna kind of play the same game. So we've got 8.5 times 9.3 times, then we have 10 to the negative 3 times 10 to the 5th. And so I can multiply this 8.5 and 9.3, and I'll get 79.05. And then I have times 10 to the 2. And so I look at this and I ask myself, is it still in scientific notation? And the answer here is no, because I have 2 digits in front of my decimal point, whereas I only want 1. So I need to move this decimal point to the left one. And so the way that I do that is I pull out a 10. So I say, okay, instead of 79.05, I'm going to have 7.905, and then I'll multiply by an extra 10. So this 10 squared becomes a 10 cubed. And now this is in scientific notation. All right, for the third one, now we're switching to division problems. And we're going to treat it in a similar fashion. So I prefer to look at division problems as fractions, so I'm going to go ahead and stack these. So I have 4.3 times 10 squared divided by 5.9 times 10 to the 4th. And here's where you can probably see that we're going to end up doing 2 division problems and then multiplying the 2. So I have 4.3 divided by 5.9 times, now I have this 10 squared divided by 10 to the 4th. And so long as you understand how exponents are working, the 10 squared over 10 to the 4th is just going to become a 10 to the negative 2, because we end up getting 1 over 10 to the 2, which is the same as 10 to the negative 2. So then all that's left is dividing our 4.3 and 5.9. We're gonna round to the hundredths here. We got 0.73. And so we ask ourselves, is this still in scientific notation? And the answer would be no, because I have a 0 in front of my decimal point, but I want one of my non-zero digits in front of the decimal point. So I want 7.3, which means I'm basically dividing out by a 10. So I've got 7.3 times 10 to, I subtract off 1, so I've got negative 3 to move that decimal point over. So then this would be my answer. Okay, now the last one. We have 2.6 times 10 to the negative 8 divided by 1.1 times 10 to the negative 9. So I can go ahead and divide my 2.6 by 1.1, and then I'll multiply that by 10 to the negative 8 divided by 10 to the negative 9. Well, when we type this 2.6 divided by 1.1 into the calculator, we end up getting approximately 2.36. And now I'm multiplying that by 10 to the negative 8 over 10 to the negative 9 is going to become just 10 to the 1. And we can ask ourselves, is this in scientific notation? And it is, in fact, in scientific notation.